In my new book, Reckless, of course, love plays a strong part, as it always does. It is the love of two brothers for each other, with all the complications of love between brothers. It is the love for a girl, and it is the love of a fairy. It is love in many, many variations and themes, rather serious, rather sad, sometimes tragic, sometimes unrequited. And as I think this is the emotion which moves us all the most, it's only appropriate to make it a topic of a new book. Okay. Well, Reckless will have a worldwide release, which is always a very exciting thing, because suddenly your story talks in many, many languages on the same day. It will be the 14th of September. And that is always a very, very exciting event. It almost feels like your book is truly born and celebrates its first birthday on that day. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Well, actually, the original idea for the world I created for Reckless was brought to me by a friend, Lionel Wigram, who is also the producer of the Harry Potter movie and just brought Sherlock Holmes to new life. And he was always slightly obsessed with the 19th century and everything involved. And me, coming from the Middle Ages, which I had mostly used as a background of my stories, was very thrilled by this prospect to do a very different taste of world as a fantasy. So I introduced the idea of the Grimm's fairy tales to enrich on that world. And what we did is that for the first time I allowed somebody to work with me on the development of a story, which I had never done before. But as a writer, I love to have a new challenge with every book. And the challenge of another storyteller, and as Lionel is used to telling stories on the screen, it's quite a different rhythm and quite a different approach. And also, as he's a man and I'm a woman, it gives quite a different taste to the story. That was, I have to say, the greatest and most interesting challenge I had so far in writing. That, of course, I'm still the one who writes the book, but there's the influence of another imagination. When I was writing Reckless, the most exciting periods were when we got into big fights about a motive or character. Why does he do that? No, he would never do that. Of course he would. And I always called it intellectual pugilism. I think that was a very correct term for this. Very inspiring, very challenging when you go through it. But it was the first time that I, who is normally quite respectful of her characters and don't ask them too many questions, was pushed by my collaborator to ask them quite intriguing and curious questions, which my hero, Jacob Reckless, was very offended by sometimes, but he had to answer. So I feel that with this book, I explored my characters in a different way, and that was a very, very interesting process. The thing that is, of course, most exciting for me about the publishing date of Reckless, the September the 14th, is to see the faces of my fans when they have read the book. That is always the most magical moment, and that's what you work for 2 years, to see how those faces just hopefully are gleaming with a passion to find another world, and my pleasure to have given that world to them. And to then hear who's the hero, who's the favorite, whose skin did they take, because I offer them many skins with this book. I offer them a skin of fur, I offer them a skin of stone, and I offer them a human skin, the one of Jacob Reckless. So let's see which one they will pick.